To begin this build, you want to get RAM, storage, a GPU, a CPU, a motherboard, a case, a power supply, and in some cases an AIO, but you might have a stock cooler. To begin, you want to get your motherboard, CPU, RAM, and storage together, and you want to unscrew these two screws here. Once you have everything in place, you want to find your CPU and your motherboard, and take the CPU and line it up with the gold triangle on both corners on the bottom left hand side of the CPU socket, as you can see right here. You want to line it up. Once you have it in there, you want to bring down the hatch, tuck it underneath the screw, and pull down the lever to secure it into place. You might feel some resistance, but it's fine. You then want to take the RAM and line it up into place to be able to push down. To begin with, this is going to seem like you're breaking the board, but it's fine. You just want to push down, as I'm doing here, as hard as you can. Once you hear 2 clicks, you're fine. On to the next one. Repeat until you have all the DIMM slots full, or do one and the other. After taking off the heatsink, you want to take your drive and stick it into this place right here, and then remove the plastic piece off of the heatsink and place it on top so the thermal pad makes contact, then screw. Doing all this, your motherboard should look like something like this. Congrats, you are halfway through the build. Now is the time to be installing your coolers. So you want to find the plastic backplate or metal backplate depending on which one you have. And you want to flip over your motherboard and take the backplate and line up both 4 holes into the 4 holes in the back to be able to secure the mounting bracket. You want to flip over your board with caution, keeping in the back still and steady, and you want to put it down and then find the appropriate screws like these and screw them in diagonally on both sides. Once that's done, you want to find your cooler. Mine is a very big cooler, so it doesn't matter which one you have. If you bought an older one or a different one, you want to take your piece, as I'm doing now, depending on what you have, and plump it down onto the clamps below. After that, you want to take your thumb screws or your screws that you were given with it and put them in diagonally, one across from the other, making sure that you only give 2 or 3 twists to make sure you don't give uneven pressure. Once you have all 4 corners settled, you want to take your screwdriver and do it ever so lightly so that you may feel the resistance coming back at you. Once you feel that it's the same on all corners going diagonally, once again, your cooler should be set. Then you want to find your power supply. Mine is a modular one, so that means I can choose what I want. If you did not buy a modular one, all the cables would be sticking out. You just want to find the appropriate. But if you do have a modular, you want to have your 24-pin connector, your 3 SATAs, and PCIe. PCIe is for your graphics card, your CPU pins, so you can power your CPU, and SATA for peripherals. As I do. Then after that, you want to get your case, you want to bring it up on top of the thing, strip it, and then install your power supply. You want to do this because you want to route all your cables before the whole mess of cables that will come up. After setting your power supply, you want to find the appropriate screws to secure it into place. After you've securing the power supply, you want to find your connection cables for your CPU and your motherboard. You want to take your CPU cable and you run it up to the top on the right hand side. There will always be a hole when you're looking at the back. You also want to take your 24-pin connector and pre-route it as I'm doing now. Depending on your case, it might be a little different, but try to get it in this general vicinity where your motherboard will be placed. As you see, after you have all your preset cables, they should look like this. You then want to take your motherboard and your cooler. Mine is different, so it will be going on the top. As you can see, this is how it will look. You want to put your motherboard on these standoff screws, as you can see right here. You want to line them up across every single one across the motherboard. You will also be on the side. Sometimes you have to install an I/O shield. It will be in the motherboard box. But as you can see, every single hole lines up with the standoff screw. You routed your cables like I told you. Your 24 pin should be on the right to plug in for your motherboard, and your 8 pin should be on the left to plug in for your CPU. You then want to take them and plug them in. If you're worried about plugging them in wrong, they have a safety tab on the top, and every pin is layered with a different design for it to connect through. Once you have them connected, it should look a little something like this. On the top left connected, on the right connected. After plugging in all your motherboard connections, you then want to take your HD audio and plug it in on the bottom left corner, as so. Then after that, you want to take your HDD, power LED, and power switch and plug it into here. As you can see, there's things at the bottom to tell you what to do and where to plug them in. After that, you want to go to the top, depending on which CPU cooler you have. You want to plug it into your CPU fan or AIO pump. Either or, one of the ways you're going to be using them both. After that, you want to cable manage. As you can see, this whole mess of cables can be fixed just like that. Make it look nice and pretty, or you could do the old reliable and stuff the cables in the back. After this, you want to then take your graphics card. You want to line it up in between where the first PCI slot is at the top, and make sure that it slides in on the left so it doesn't damage your board. You then want to push in until you hear a click. Then you want to proceed to plug in the wires on the right. As you can see, I had them pre-routed, as I said. Plug them in with caution, slowly, one after the other. Then after that, you want to secure your GPU, like so, into your case. After that, your computer should look a little something like this.